This is Hiring on All Cylinders. Live from HR Tech. Hello again, HR Tech, and all of you out there in podcast land. Rob Stevenson from Intello once more for Hiring on All Cylinders, and I have a very special guest joining me again. We have the SVP for Strategy and Corporate Development from Cornerstone On Demand, Jason Corsello. Jason, so glad to meet you. Thanks for being here.
Likewise. Thanks, Rob.
So you have this session coming up, Design Matters, Building the Next Generation of HR Technology.
Yes.
Do you want to kind of give us a high-level overview of what you're going to be talking about?
Yeah, so I think the overall themes of the session are just how there's some very significant shifts that are happening around the experience of enterprise applications, and notably HR technology applications. Those shifts are obviously moving away from menu-based navigation to more things like AI, and how AI has the potential to impact how we work with systems, how we interact with HR technology systems. So I think hopefully a big discussion is going to be around just the changing of what we expect out of the user experience and how that's evolving and how that's going to evolve over the next couple of years.
So when you say it's going to move away from sort of like a menu search-based approach, is that just to say that it's going to be a lot of, auto suggestion, a lot of kind of native like knowledge and navigation that takes out of the user's hands?
To me, I always like to say that the next UI is no UI. So what that means is using messaging, using just analytics to drive decisions. It's not going and looking at a menu and seeing drop downs and clicking on stuff. So we're going from, as I heard recently, from clicks to swipes.
Yep.
So how do you navigate in a much different way, or not even use navigation? How do you use voice? How do you use text messaging to actually get things done? I had an interesting experience recently with Avis, where I rented a car online, but what they did is they tried to upsell me through text messaging. So the day before I picked up the car, text GPS if I wanted navigation.
Okay. So
really actually doing commerce through things like text and voice and things like that. So certainly, that's what we're looking at, is how is HR technology going to evolve towards things like using text messaging, towards using things like the word of the day now is conversational UI.
Okay.
So hopefully I think that will be a lot of the discussion as well.
Yes, that's kind of been one of the recurring themes of the show, is like the consumerization of HR.
Yes.
What sort of other applications do you foresee?
I think there's just a ton of different applications. It could be down to systems telling you what training you need to complete before you going into the system. It could be, from a core HR perspective, you may have vacation days that are about to expire, so systems alerting you on things that are going to happen. So I think the first step is doing just simple things like alerting and triggering of things that are happening in the system that we don't necessarily get today. Longer term, it's the systems being able to predict things like, hey, we know that these events are going to happen. Here's training that you need to complete. Here's skills that you need to be able to do to get there. So I think there's a lot of interesting things that are in the very earliest stages of development that that certainly I think a lot of the vendors, ourselves included, are trying to figure out what do we need to do today versus what's going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years.
Right. So I'm curious to follow up there.
Yeah.
Is that something Cornerstone is prioritizing?
I don't want to say prioritizing. I think it's something that we're certainly exploring, which is, and to me, it's because, you think about what devices like Alexa are doing, and they seem very simplistic, but they're actually very sophisticated to work, because you need, in my mind, you need 3 components. You need the data. Yep. You need the machine learning processing. So you need to be able to analyze data very quickly, and analyze lots of data. And then the third component is now natural language processing, which certainly I don't think that's something that we need to get in. We'll let Microsoft solve that, or Google. They're certainly spending a lot of money. But to do this well, you need to have those 3 components and figure out how do they work together. To me, I have a Alexa device at home, or Echo, I forget what.
Right, yeah.
Alexa, I guess, is the name. But the most fascinating thing about Alexa isn't necessarily the thing that, the data. It's actually the recognition, the voice recognition technology. Someone told me there's 9 microphones in the device, so it can understand my voice versus my daughter's voice versus
Right.
my wife's voice. So again, that's not necessarily I think the HR world needs to solve, but I think it's more of how can we build and leverage the data that we have and the processing of that data to be more predictive in what we do, and do that not necessarily through interaction through the screen, but more of the things, the technology telling us what to do.
Got it. So we've got the consumerization of HR. We've got some AI. What else from the show floor is kind of exciting or interesting to you new this year?
I'm not sure if there's one thing. I mean, every year, so I've been coming to this conference for 12 years, and every year it's, what's the new thing? What's the next best thing? Who's the new hot vendor? And every year I walk away probably a little bit disappointed, and maybe it's you expect to see something that you don't necessarily see. So to me, it's more of a continuation of trends over time. But I think overall the macro trend is certainly this, you call it consumerization, much more systems designed for the employee. So It's not necessarily HR-driven systems, it's more employee-driven systems. So from a learning perspective, I want to learn what I care about. I don't want to have to sit through 2 hours of compliance training. From a performance perspective, I want real-time feedback. I don't want to do my annual review that's already outdated by the time I do it. So to me, I think the bigger, broader trend is much more employee, consumer-driven. I consider more self-directed types of applications, whether it's in recruiting, whether it's in performance, whether it's in training and learning.
Gotcha. So you've been coming to this show for years then, and as you say, it's not like a steady, annual have my mind blown by something kind of event. What is it then that you expect to see, or what do you look forward to or try to get out of this event then?
I mean, this event, for me and individually, it's a bit of a reunion of sorts, right? So previous to Cornerstone, I was an industry analyst, so I've got to meet many folks over the years. So
Sure.
It's seeing people, catching up with them, understanding what they're doing. From a broader Cornerstone perspective, we use this event obviously to meet our clients, to meet new prospects, but also doing things like press and media, meeting with analysts, meeting with partners. So we look at it much more broadly around just, this is the event that brings everyone together. So how can we do all of these things together, whether it's, talking to the press, updating the analysts, or just connecting with partners. And that's, this is certainly the event to do that.
Absolutely. Sorry to keep asking you about what's coming next, but this is something that I've been asking a lot of people.
Yeah.
Where do you see an opportunity for this space to make the most strides over the next year? I mean, we can push it out. Like, what's just whatever the time
I'm not sure
frame.
if it's one thing or one technology. I think all of us as folks that serve the HR professionals, how can we make them more successful at the end of the day? So that's something that we think about at Cornerstone is how can we make our clients more successful? Our product can do that, but also there's other things around the product. How can we be more efficient in how we deliver our product? How can we understand and teach them better ways to use our products? So to me, it's mostly around how can we make our clients much more successful in them using our solution and getting more value out of it over time. That's a very kind of generic response, probably not what you wanted.
That's
but
okay. That's a great answer, because I want to follow up. Like, specifically, you said like part of it's the product, but part of it is maybe it's an education thing or a training thing. What are some of those specifics that you can use to make your customers ultimately better at their jobs?
I think educating them on what we do. I mean, when you walk around the floor, there's a lot of very good products out there that serve the HR community. It's for us is how do we get them more successful faster? Meaning, how do they get deployed faster? It shouldn't take a year to deploy software. It should take a month or weeks to deploy software. So how do we get to a point where they can get their time to value of the software much faster? How do they understand we do 4 releases a year? It's in a lot of our clients, it's more than they can consume. So how do we make it easier for them to understand what's available and what things they can use? Our releases are feature packed. There's a ton of stuff that we add into our product, but how do we keep our clients updated of actually what's coming so they can then start to plan for it? In a lot of cases, the technology is now surpassing a lot of what companies can consume. So how do we bridge that gap? How do we shorten it for the clients? And I think that's certainly will continue to be a challenge because the technology continues to accelerate.
I love it. The session is called Design Matters, Building the Next Generation of HR Technology. Jason, this has been awesome. Thanks for coming by and meeting me.
Thanks, Rob.